Just know the sound looks alright there. So I'm here with Brent Smith from. I'm a little bit more relaxed now that I've had my frustrations out on the technology.
Fixed the NBN for the whole network.
Yep, I've got Brent Smith with me, KHP Reptiles himself, and he's got an exciting clutch here today that we hoping there's. Oh, I can already see some nice. Man, they reduced. But I'll let Brent tell us about this clutch and where the mindset was and how he became involved in the project, and we'll redo it over again. We'll just do this.
Yep, this little project started maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I bought a male Bredli from a girl called Kayana Jash. She was in Queensland, called Pure Reptiles. I always thought it was something different. I wasn't sure whether it was a stone wash or just some sort of reduced pattern Bredli. I bred it about 3 years ago to another pure Bredli, and everything came out reasonably normal looking. The mother is a little bit reduced pattern as well, so that could be sort of throwing a spanner into the works a little bit, but certainly not the stonewash look where the stonewash at the back of the neck very reduced. The mother's more right down the sides of the body, very sort of reduced lighter patterning. So this clutch we're looking at now is the results of the holdbacks, male and female, which technically should be both het stonewash, being stonewash proved out in the States as a recessive gene. So we should see roughly a quarter of the clutch out of this coming out looking stonewash, if indeed the original male was carrying the gene in the first place.
So let's just get this straight. These are from hets that you made?
Yes. Yep.
How many years ago was that?
I bought the original animal 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Bred it the next year, and grew up the holdbacks.
Yeah.
Which made this clutch now. So
okay,
the hets are 3 years old, I suppose. So
it's a process. You notice the adults, and they look different, and this is now. Hopefully there's something in there. I mean, I can see there's definitely reduced pattern breadline there.
Yep.
And they're really nice. I mean, I'm a fan of breadline. I really do, and I can
definitely
just that reduction in pattern mixed into maybe hypo down the line.
Yep.
Make really nice. There's some very light ones in there as well that's really nice. So
big future for Bredli. I think there's a lot of things, different combos that'll come out of Bredli stuff in the next 5 years that'll be mind blowing. That's like even those albino Bredlis were far better at 50% Bredli blood in them than I thought they'd be. You know,
now it's
another. I thought could be crazy. You know,
how many years now? Another 3 years to make.
More years to make 75% hets, and then grow them up, pair them together to try and get 75% visuals. It's a long, recessive stuff that everyone loves so much and holds its value so well is great, but long time to work with. You just don't get instant results like incomplete dominant stuff that you can pair something up and get results in the first clutch. So this is a 6-year project we're looking at here. It's just not an overnight thing. So
yeah. So we did cut the previous video. We did delete that because it wasn't up to scratch. But can you maybe just give the people a look at the eggs? Just show them what. So snakes can cut their own eggs. We only cut eggs because we like to make sure that the babies get out fine. Most of these eggs looks like they've been cut themselves by the hatchlings themselves, and you can see the cuts up. It's surgical precision. I mean, I don't think you can get a blade that can cut an egg that well. I mean, there you can see the little cuts there. We're going to try and make it as interactive. I'm on the hi, Mark Reynolds, George, hello, Nick. So I've got the phone here, so if you've got questions, just shout out. We'll answer the questions. I hope the sound's okay, but for the little rig that we've got here to fit into the space, we had to make some sacrifices. And Brett, tell us that fungus on there.
Yep.
Something to worry about?
No, you get that often in clutches, and I think these two were near each other. Get a little bit of fungus, a little bit of mold, something. Nothing to worry about. It normally doesn't spread. If an egg's bad, it's just going to go bad, and there's nothing you can do to save it. I see people often trying to save an egg, trying to fix something it's just not going to make it. So if anything, during the process of incubation, I might dust off a little bit. Like this one, I just don't even touch them. If it's not becoming a really bad moldy egg, I'll leave it. Even an egg that it might be in the middle of this group that's totally died and rotten,
Yeah.
sometimes I'll just leave them. You know, if it's not affecting other stuff around it, leave it alone. If it's gone bad early stages, I'll pull it out, throw it in the bin. But generally, a good egg's going to make it regardless of what's happening around it. It's not affected by its
And just
environment.
this one's got some paper stuck underneath it. That one there.
That one, yep.
Just so you know, you don't have to be over cautious. There's even some fungus on the bottom there. So this egg's got a little piece of paper there from the bedding where the mum was on. You know, so it doesn't do anything to the egg. So don't get all stressed out about a little bit of paper or a little bit of bedding or a little bit of substrate. We have to remember these things lay their eggs in the wild. You know, on
Yep.
grass and bark chips and you name it, whatever you find out in the bush. So. Hopefully there's something interesting in here.
Something cool.
You know, we're gonna copy the Americans with their egg cutting videos.
The difference here with carpets, I mean, a lot of people see videos online and see the way things get cut with retic eggs, and it's very different with carpets. And
But I don't even think you need blades. I mean, the whole thing with a blade cutting, I mean, scissors make it much better. Just show the
This
scissors.
is what I use, basically nail scissors with a nice rounded tip on the end, so that you can't really do any damage. It's I did buy a cheap pair once, which were terrible and loose, fall apart. These ones are not so cheap ones, but they work much better. That you can basically slide the end of it. You can use the cut that the snake's already made, and slide the end of the scissors in there. And I try and just push some outwards pressure to hold to the outside
against
of
the wall of the shell. Yeah, so you don't cut into the baby, but that should be pretty straightforward. Let's see what's in here.
But basically, I only cut just like a C-section on top of the egg, just enough that you can pop the top out and have a little bit of a look inside.
And those eggs are, normally you can see it when the egg's ready to come out. There's no veins on the shell, so I mean you can see the little veins that's still sitting there. That's all dried up. The snake's not using the shell anymore to breathe through. It's not breathing through the shell and the veins on the shell anymore. It's now using its lungs. So you know that snake's very close to coming out. And the reduced pattern.
Certainly reduced.
Very
the
reduced.
Sides, they're very, very light.
I mean the reduced pattern. Anything is good in my books. I mean that's the reduced pattern, like the Jags without the issues. You know, so
certainly nothing behind the head, much like expect to see with something stonewashed. That lighter patterning on the side, I think, comes from another side.
Right up against the camera if you want. Yeah, there we go. So really nice. Yeah.
But basically, as soon as I cut them, I just like to see the head up. If that's got its head up, it's tongue flicking, it's breathing outside the egg, it's happy. I'll just pretty much pop the top back down and throw that back into the tub just to let it come out of the egg on its own accord. And generally, a day or two, they'll be out. Tonight, most of these will probably be out of the egg, but certainly within a day or two, we should see all of these fully out, and that's when you get a really good look at what's going on. But certainly with something like stonewash, I think you would be able to see, straight to the back of the neck in the egg to have a bit of a look at what's going on.
Oh my goodness, that's some nice pattern on the back there. Gee, that's reduced, isn't it?
There's some crazy.
There's
colours.
definitely something going here with that's definitely something. If all of them come out like that,
yep,
there's definitely something genetic with this reduction in the pattern. Man, that's nice.
It could well be coming from the mother, but it's quite possible the mother carries something.
So what do you think? Is it something received? What do you think is that? Like I might not have been paying attention, but what's your gut feeling with the mode of inheritance of this?
I think my initial thought's probably just something polygenic, which everyone almost has a little bit of a.
Look at the pattern on the sides there, man. That's crazy.
Right in that.
Really?
The camera in there.
Let's see if I can bring it.
See, everyone almost, for years, polygenic was seen as not cool. It's just a, polygenic thing. It's rubbish. It's just a line bred thing. But I really start to see now and want to work more with things polygenic to refine things. I think there's as much work in polygenic lines over 3, 4, 5, 5 different pairings and years of work to try and refine something, yourself rather than just make something out of something recessive. So I see polygenic stuff being probably big in the future. We see stripes at the moment going nuts. Everyone's loving the stripe stuff.
Yep. I'm just messing with the camera to see if I can get
some better picture
exposure. There we go. Now I've put some light on it. Sorry, these little cameras, so there's a little bit more exposure on there, so you should be able to see the colour a little bit better.
I'll put this one away.
Okay,
That one
let's
enough.
see the next one, yep.
So it could be something polygenic, or it could even be that the mother was carrying something special, and these are hets, both from something that could be recessive from the mother. We don't know exactly. So
Yeah, but then you wouldn't have that many. You wouldn't get that many. If it was something recessive, you wouldn't get that many in a clutch.
quarter of the clutch should be it. So that's why I think polygenic wise for what's coming out of the mother. There's another clutch from the same holdback male sire to this clutch to back to the original mother. So if it was something incomplete dominant, we probably would have seen a super form in that clutch, which we didn't see anything.
Yeah.
And this one, I was thinking really, yes, they're both holdbacks from that line from the mother, but I was hoping to see stonewash sort of stuff from this clutch. So again, that one just a little bit of
that data's a lot better than that, man.
This one wants to come out by himself.
Yeah, Mister.
So they don't need much of a hole. You can see what a small area that guy's cut that he's going to sneak himself out of.
But that's a good sign they're ready to come out. I mean, you'd probably be coming in here tomorrow, and most of them will be out of the egg already.
They look strong, and I find most Bredli stuff comes out of the egg ready to go. They're
racing out of there. Yeah.
Yep, and so maybe they're one of the good species that tend to race out of the egg and do okay. They don't struggle. I know with blackheads and a few other species, sometimes I feel they come racing out of the egg way too early and then have gigantic problems associated with it.
See, that's got lots of nice. Man, it's very reduced.
Very reduced on nose. So the head's up. That's happy.
There we go. Tongue out. Hello, brand new baby.
Welcome to the world.
Oh, that's almost cliche, that, isn't it? Welcome to the world, little one. Oh,
welcome.
My goodness, welcome. Yes, welcome, my little friend. There we go. It's very official, this video. Normally it's a bit of a mess around, isn't it?
So all working.
Yeah, no, everything's working now. I mean, we might have to rig up the proper camera to get the proper visuals. Oh yes, hello. That's hypo-ish.
Very light.
To me. Yeah. Right up, man. With the pattern on the side. I mean, that's, and see how the colour is sort of. See how
it's very different to that deep red of Bredli.
It's almost like a washed out colour on the side there, man.
We'll get some pictures of the father later on to post up. But it's certainly not that, we're not seeing that stonewash look at the back of the neck, but it's more this body pattern reduction.
Yeah, look at this perfect little round circles on the sides here. I mean, that's very different from what I'm used to, at least. Basically classics. See, that's much lighter than that. So I would say that's a holdback. Yeah,
possible. Very much.
Might be others in there that might be better holdbacks.
Yeah,
but
we'll show a shot later of they're all sitting together, and that's when it's good when they all come out and they can be in a nice bunch. You get a bit better comparison look at.
That's very light, man. But thanks for letting us come into your facility here. This I don't think it's been done before, so that's good.
No,
so that's normal. That looks more like a normal coloured Bredli.
Definitely darker, but still some of that down the sides of that. It's still got some of that.
It's like an Angola python. You know what an Angolan python looks like?
Yeah.
Very similar to that Angolan python look. Very nice. That's got sort of a grey shade.
Bit washed out, bit reduced out.
Yeah. Oh, we still have a whole bunch of them to go, so that's okay. Still haven't gotten all worried that we might not get the odds, but let's see. But at the end of the day, you tried. If it doesn't prove out, there's another clutch. Hopefully, something in there.
Yep, that's the game, snakes, isn't it? And that's trying to prove stuff out. You can spend, a decade trying to prove things out, but you just got to do the work. If you see potential in something, breed it, make what you need to prove it out, breed the stuff, and get your answers. It's.
See, this one is as well, the veins, none of the little tiny veins on the eggs anymore. That just means it's ready to come out, so awesome.
This one's a lazy one, hasn't even made an effort. No, this one will probably be a good one to show if something hasn't quite made an effort to come out, and maybe it's just not ready yet, but I'll squeeze the egg a little bit and just give the egg a little snip. That way you got no chance of hacking into a snake.
Yeah.
And same deal, just give it a little half moon. I see people do all sorts of different things with eggs cutting. With snake stuff, there's lots of ways to do things. Most work. There's some ways that are probably less right than others.
No.
Cutting giant tops off eggs. People do it, get away with it. I'll find some stuff, I've done it.
Slits, V shapes,
Yep.
blah blah blah. As long as that snake's ready to come out and he's absorbed that most of that yolk.
It's ready. That is dark.
Yeah,
That
it's
is
very dark.
really
That's almost
dark.
like a black. No, not a black. It's like a dark chocolate. No, not even chocolate. That's even darker.
Compared to something like this
This
one.
guy, yeah. You can see the ones. Yeah, it's not bad, that little camera. Yeah.
Certainly some variation, but that's carpet pythons too. Variation is just so extensive in carpets. That's what can be misleading sometimes when you think that there's something going on, and then breeding tells you otherwise. It's
Yeah.
it's very hard to prove. Polygenic things and incomplete dominant things, so hard to get an accurate read until you get something that's a super form that's so different.
Right.
You can pair polygenic things together to get things that look like a super, but it's just the polygenics pushing further, into whatever pattern or colour works with it.
Oh, that's also nicely. See, what I like about these is that stripy side. I mean, you can see it on that one. That's got a great striped side.
Yep.
And then these little dots behind that, almost like symmetrical dots running down the back, and then the reduced pattern on the sides. It's definitely something. Whether it's line bred reduction, seeing that both parents were reduced, yeah.
Yes, definitely.
So I mean that could play part of it. That's what people don't realise. You can unknowingly be making a line by just picking the stuff that you like out of the babies. You keep back the babies that you like the most, and that could be the traits that your eyes are more attracted to.
Yep. And certainly with the two holdbacks from this line, they were the two most reduced looking out of the whole clutch of the original pairing.
So it'd be fair to say that if you go see that one's got the veins on still nice and red there. So this guy's still breathing through that shell. See how red the veins are, how bright red it is. That means that's still carrying oxygen. So maybe not 100% as ready. As probably just hasn't started breathing by itself yet.
Yep. I like to just make sure I see that would get the head to the
it's
top.
still under the water. Yeah.
See, it's right there. If it sometimes the membrane of the inside is very tough. I'll often get the scissors and just try and pull back that membrane a little bit to get it to get its head out and take a breath.
Even you can even pop out the head just out of that fluid, and that also helps.
Just to see it, that it's happy. It's got its head up. It can breathe.
And then it will start breathing, and you'll see the veins dry up. There we go.
Certainly happy and moving.
Yeah, he's right. Interesting stuff. I haven't seen this in a few years, though.
We hadn't had the egg cutting duty for a while.
Yep. I miss the smell. I think that's the biggest thing that I miss is that smell, that musky,
very unique
eggy smell.
Yes.
Not like egg, but it's got a unique. I don't know. It's hard to explain it when you're used to having that much of them around. See another light one. Yeah, nice.
The tongue going.
Yeah, we'll get the big camera out after this to show a few snakes.
A few bit more colour and sniff.
Oh yes.
That's a smell you never forget.
That's terrible, huh? Us here. Sniff the egg, mate. Sniff the egg.
Sniff.
Oh shit. Well, we'll be looking at some snakes later as well, yeah.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
I find in this day and age, sadly, the most of the breeders I know are kind of locked away from the world. Nobody really wants to.
See the stripe on the side. See that line, sort of a liney, light-coloured running down the sides there. Man, that's fascinating stuff. See that's the stuff that I pick up on. Like those subtle changes of colour in pattern and colour.
Yep, little things to keep. When you have a clutch of 20 or 25, you've got to keep something back.
Yeah.
All those little things that you can sort of take notice of.
Oh, that's a cute photo. Look at the guys. We've got a bit of lag here, so look at the little head popping out there. Hey, ready to come out, sir.
Back in.
Oh no, we've got a few eggs still. Eat that elusive. How many eggs was in that? 1, 2, 3, 4,
22.
I've got a few.
So really,
Even just one out of there that looks similar, that'd be
the odds can be
or they could be zero.
dramatically for you or dramatically not for you. So
Yeah, another one.
Dark around the neck, not so much reduced on that one,
Yeah.
for what we can see.
My wife's watching Hello Nicole. Yes, she was up early this morning getting screamed at because there's no pain medicine.
Well.
Sorry, on live telly. Yep. 36, almost 40 people watching, so that's good. I'm sure there'll be more. So, as I said to Brent, we'll be here the whole day. We'll be looking at some cool stuff. Don't go too far away from your Facebook. You'll see should see the notifications come up. I'm watching the live feed. If there's any questions, just yell out. And if you want to see anything,
Dark.
I don't know. People don't know what they can see at your house, so you can't even say. We'll see a snapshot. Like a snapshot, cross section maybe.
Yep. That's what I was saying. Sadly, these days, with the risk of security, the risk of viruses, even simple mites, there is so many reasons bigger guys just don't have people visit their collection. It's sad in a way. There's a lot of stuff lurking in people's collections that never sees daylight. It's there's a couple of photos on Facebook, and certainly I find it. People often message me or comment on a post from years ago saying, any updated pics on this? How's that thing going?
That's gonna, and this is where the yoke is connected. Yoke stalk. That's a yoke stalk. So that's where it's umbilical
cord to the sac.
Yeah, it's yokes. The right word to use is the umbilical stalk. So that's where the yolk's attached to the snake's gut. So that's where he gets his nutrition from over the 60 days. How long were these guys in?
Just under about 57, 31 degrees incubation. So I always find they come a couple of days early at that time. But they're ready. They're with that many to have pipped overnight. It's
maybe just pop that guy's head out of because he's pulled it in there. He should be okay.
One thing that I sort of look out for, especially when you find something like that with umbilical cord sort of dangling around. There's the head up. Always worry that cord will get wrapped around. You can see, here's probably a good shot of it. You can see the big thick umbilical cord there still attached, that big pinky section. And that's a dangerous thing at this stage. This snake's probably not quite ready to be fully out.
See how thick it is. It's thick and round,
very
and solid
thick
as well.
Yeah. And this is another reason I try to cut big C sections, so you don't. If you cut a V, you can get a very sharp corner that snake crawls out of. That umbilical sac grabs that corner, tears open, and just bleeds everywhere.
I've lost snakes like that because I went on. I used to see how guys did it. The V, you cut it, and then you see these babies just dying straight out of the egg, all skinny, and then you see the whole yolk sac still sitting inside the egg.
Yep, I've had stuff come out and looked in the tub the next day. The whole paper towel's blood. It's amazing how much blood will come out of something once it's quite an open wound.
Up to 40 people now. That's good. Oh, we're running out of eggs here.
Lunchtime.
Running out of eggs here. Well. Another light one.
Very light. Very reduced on the sides, that one. Can't see too much behind the head.
Yeah, it's very light though. There's still that stripey, those little stripes on the side of the neck. Very refined. They're very cool.
Nice and light. Even as a polygenic line, I think these things will be quite nice. Even mixed in, some mixed blood stuff, Bredley, very reduced, very light colouring.
Even just Jags, even just into Jaguar.
Yep, we've seen
would
those.
make them really, really nice reduced Jaguars, with that red tinge to them. Yeah, another one.
Certainly very dark up the top, so it looks not looking like much stonewash classic looking animals.
Yeah.
That we've seen overseas where they come out with that really reduced pattern behind the neck, very washed out, stonewash the name. But certainly plenty going on with some very light coloured animals and very reduced on their sides, which is still something nice to work with. Probably fortunate these days with I've got quite a lot of genetic stuff, and project stuff, but some things like this that are just not necessarily, the $1 million project everyone's dreaming of hatching, but something polygenic that's nice that you can refine.
But sometimes the risks pay off.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have had a half a clutch now of these of stonewash snakes, but it's not going to stop you from breeding snakes.
No.
This is just you proved it out. Like check the other clutch, maybe give it a run. I mean, it costs you it costs you a little bit of maintenance in a year, but this didn't cost you much to feed the female up to this point. And Bredli is very, very straightforward with food wise, and the babies are strong. You wouldn't even struggle to get rid of these babies either.
Easy sell. Like Bredli is still quite popular. I find a few species, Bredli and diamonds, suddenly making a huge comeback. For a long time people weren't that keen on them. Not many people were breeding them, and they kind of just disappeared. And then I get a ton of people messaging now saying
it's a good basic snake. They're not aggressive. They're not as aggressive as some of the other snakes. The big stocky babies.
It's still very wet. You can see how much
a lot of fluid
yolk still in that egg. So that one still needs to do a fair bit more absorbing. Plenty of work to still do there.
They'll still use that little tongue underneath of.
Yeah, that's just a waste. That's the best stuff for them. What they absorb in that egg can last them 6 months once they're out. It's plenty of time to keep them going until they can start feeding by themselves. But saying diamonds, Bredli, people messaging all the time. And you look at a diamond python. If we didn't have them so commonly for many years, if that came out as a new looking animal, people would be going crazy for them. A black snake, little rosettes. It's people would be dying to get hold of them. But because they were very common all over the place 5 years, 10 years ago,
people just stopped keeping them.
People just sort of went, they're not bothering with that anymore. And I guess when people breed a lot of them and then can't sell them, they're not going to keep breeding anymore, So now I find those things are making a resurgence. I'd love to see a lot more pure stuff coming back.
It's sort of, pure stuff's really tapered off. Become harder and harder to find pure stuff, but the predictions were made. 10 years ago when we were fighting for the rights of mutations, the purists were saying, but it always comes full circle. And then the guys that have got the pure animals, there will always be guys that make the pure stuff, but there's just less of them now, For the guy that wants a really nice jungle or pure blind jungle, the options are less now, so that the prices go up again,
Yep. Anything that's a pure and well refined line still gets good money. I think it's still sought after animals. I think there's been a lot of the mixed blood stuff thrown around in the market that hasn't had a ton of thought process into it, and they drag prices down. It's hard to sell a very basic, a Darwin cross coastal that's they haven't really bred it for any particular reason. Just no trait they were trying to do, or no genetics on board that they were trying to achieve, but just throw something together, and those animals can be hard to sell. Although in their own right, beautiful animal, carpet python, people still can have those, pet, hobby, snake. It's
no joy.
Not looking stonewash, no, but
but so how many new baby snakes back in circulation? That's good.
Well, Bredli, not so much of a hassle anymore. I don't mind this sort of stuff. When I look at make 200, 250 hatches a year, they can't all be albino grannis. If I held back everything and made 100 albino grannis this year, they're just not going to sell. You just can't expect a market to be able to handle that sort of hit. Yeah. But stuff like this is great. This stuff sells at $100, $200 sort of market sort of snake. Yeah. Try and get a bit of a group shot there.
There we go.
And stuff like this, when you have 20 of these, they always sell. You can go to an expo. These are fantastic snakes at expos once they're well established. That they're not breaking people's budget at $150 a snake, and all this stuff helps to go and pay for more food, more materials, electricity, vet bills. My God.
Especially with you. Brent's one of the few breeders that I know that will put everything in quarantine that comes into his. Not much comes in anymore. You know,
not a lot.
It has to be really special though.
I was just talking to a guy about that last night. Funny enough, like I'd been fortunate to have a lot of stuff I wanted genetic wise. So now I'm sort of turning to work with things that I want to work with. It's not a case of it has to be part of a project. It might be just an individual snake that I think's got potential, it's got striping, it's got colours, it's got patterns, something that I think that will work well mixed into something else. Yeah. And indeed the last few snakes I've bought, 3 jungle jags with beautiful striping. Just a jungle jag, they're not head for exanthic, they're not anything, they're just outstanding looking stripe animals that I thought could be something special. I want to play with things I want to work with and breed animals that I love. And I think if you try to get caught up in the morph world, and I've probably been guilty of it, you know, in the last 10 years of I have to have exanthic stuff, I have to have granite stuff, I have to have all these recessive and fancy morphs and make all the stuff, which is cool. It's been an awesome journey. But 10 years later I sit back and go, I want to make a polygenic line of Bredli that is more reduced and hold back, you know, we're 6 years in now, hold back another 3 years of the best of the best and just keep refining those things.
And there's definitely some in there that I definitely hold back.
Yeah.
Oh, that one there, that's a smashing looking snake.
Very, very light.
So what's the plan today? We'll probably have some lunch, yeah?
Yeah, lunch next. I'm hungry.
And then we'll probably this afternoon we'll look at some of Brent's different projects. We'll make a few different little videos. We'll have the bench ready. Maybe get the better camera out. So this one's a little bit limited with the low light performance. We've got lights here and stuff.
Yep.
But this is a good entry. It can't stop you from talking now. You know, now that I've
got
you going.
You know.
We're going to have to struggle to get him to shut up now.
Once you get going, this is what happens, you know, when you start talking reptiles, it just explodes. I go to meet someone to sell a snake for a 10-minute meet-up, and an hour and 40 minutes later, I'm coming home, you know, like...
And you haven't really said anything.
No, well,
just discussed the matter at hand, the serious business of keeping reptiles.
And hopefully, you know, I've downloaded some information to the bio, and a lot of the time, you know, it's where you sell cheaper end animals or people's first or second snakes, and they're wanting information, so I'm happy to depart with it, you know, I'll download as much as I can to them at that time, and I know it's not going to stick. You punch an hour and a half of information into somebody, it's too much to absorb in one go. So
better do it in smaller chunks over.
But I'm happy they can message me the next day, and I'll tell them the same thing, and you know, reinforce some things that matter. I'd rather give people the information, and the animal gets the right setup and the right care off the bat, you know, and sometimes I'm down at the local Macca's, which is the place that seems to be the car park deals.
The sales room.
The spot, and you know, like $120 stimmy, and I'm there for an hour and a half talking to a guy about stuff, you know, like this, that, rodents, snakes, projects. You know, there's always something to talk about with reptiles.
The important stuff, yeah.
Yeah, that's what we do.
So let's, hopefully you can quiet down now.
Can we go eat?
Can we? I'm going to set up the nice camera after lunch, and then now that we figured out the bullshit here.
Now we know how to stream.
Yeah, and we'll start at the basics.
Yep.
And then we'll work into the more cutting edge stuff. So keep an eye out for after lunch.
If there's something you want to see, shout out. If there's a particular,
I'll make a post. Yeah, I'll make a post, and then if there's something you want to see, you can just put it in there. And if you need to talk about something, you can let us know. All right. Thank you for watching.